You're listening to the Go Lightly Martial Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.
Get on with the whatever.
freedomtalkradio.net.
All right. Hello.
Hello there.
Hello there. We're on air. That rhymes.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's the end of the show, isn't it?
Yeah. Why go on any further? That's brilliant.
All right. What is today? It's a Thursday, right? Yes, the 9th of April. We've had our house inspection and our meter box read. These are the things that we live for every 3 months.
Yeah, well, makes life exciting, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It's a flurry of activity for the day before, and Joel's going to celebrate by having breakfast down at the cafe all by himself. All for 5 minutes to satisfy.
How much I was in love with a vacuum cleaner when I was a little boy.
Oh, yeah, right.
Now I hate them.
You hate them. Put on the vacuum to finish the job today. Turn it off. So we swept. Anyway, all good. All good for the good. Now we are live, so I'll try to remember to...
What?
All right. No, I can't say
You've
anymore.
forgotten it already?
No, I haven't forgotten. But if I go on, I'll completely defeat the purpose of trying to watch what I say.
I've forgotten what you said already.
No. All right.
That's how interesting it is.
Yeah. What have you got to talk about? I know you have.
Oh, not much.
Yeah, all right, go on.
Well, in my usual fashion, New Zealand, as you know, has been a very important point in the navigation of Australia. The use of the Harrison clock, one of my relatives invented it, John Harrison.
Yes.
They tried to rip him off. The Longitude Committee in England of the Parliament tried to rip him off. They wouldn't pay him. Right? It was £20,000. He developed 5 clocks over a period of 50 years. Mind you, he could have been a little quicker, I suppose. However, he kept on making smaller and smaller, but he's such a perfectionist. He made this one clock that was half as big as a room, and they got smaller. Another one was smaller. Then finally, he had 2 that was portable, small. One big as a alarm clock. And the idea behind it is that it wasn't difficult to get latitude accurately on a ship, but it's very difficult to get longitude because you had to know what time it was in Greenwich so that you could then look at the stars at a certain point, know that's the North Star or whatever the case may be, or the South Star, and have a reference point at midday or midnight. And you had to know it was exactly midnight. Then you could calculate the distance around the Earth you was at that latitude. It was quite a feat of engineering to be able to do what he did. And it was entirely accurate. With that, when Cook, of course, got to New Zealand, he started to measure. And he spent 6 months measuring the islands. And there's 3 major islands there. And... found it to be at between latitudes of 888 miles. And that's not taught in New Zealand in school anymore because it's too important. But people say our age, your age perhaps, oh, well, Grant, he's about your age. He was taught that. And his wife, I asked her about it. But as the youngsters come up, they don't teach that anymore because history has got to be very, very carefully manipulated to do away with God and put in evolution and all that kind of thing. So, if you ask a child today where you came from, and they say, well, out of the arse of the sea, like 3.5 billion years ago. Right? If you go to India, which we've done, of course, and you talk to the people there, they really have no idea about what God is.
No.
And all they do know is what punishment is. So unless you do the right thing, you're going to hell, which is another incarnation back on the earth for another 427,000 years. Not that long to wait, I suppose. 427,000, so you become one with God again. Well, what a ridiculous idea. You can't do that.
Nobody can become one with God.
You can't become one with God. You can only become the offspring and the wife of God in that sense. So, India, of course, is totally demonised. Totally. No matter which God you look at, bullshit. Right? So then you go into the Bible, which I've been just dissecting for a very, very long period of time. We've got hundreds of versions, and it's all demonic. And it is totally Judaism with a twist to divert Jesus into their way of bringing their chosen people themselves into their paradise on the earth where they rule as God. So we know it's bullshit. So we have the Quran, of course, which I've read 3 pages of it, and total, utter bullshit. And the most amazing thing about it is they almost copy word for word some of the Old Testament. And this is supposed to be divinely inspired. Muhammad. Well, Muhammad had nothing to do with it because they soon killed him off. And his original statement was correct. That was that Jesus was born of a virgin and that his soul was Allah, which is another way of saying God. So Jesus and God was one. So the blood was God, the body of flesh was Jesus, and it was a virgin. And of course we've got that proved now with the Shroud of Turin, the X and Y, one Y chromosome.
With the blood from the Ark of the Covenant.
And the Ark of the Covenant as well. It's both done. Alright, so something that's written, say, in the 600 era, we know when we was in Egypt we found that Muhammad was killed by Jews that lived in a town not too far from where he was. It was totally Jewish. And they killed him. They also killed his offspring. And it goes on for about 10 generations where they were beheading and hanging and putting in jail his offspring. So the idea was to control a new book. And the new book, of course, became the Quran and convinced the natives that the Quran was written by Muhammad when it wasn't. And we have, you can find it on the internet, letters in the original writings of sent to Nugus, which means king of Ethiopia. And Ethiopia, when he was told by the relatives of Muhammad that had taken a message to him, and also other nations around the area, around Arabia, they believed. That's why they all be converted over to Islam.
And that message was that Jesus was the soul of Allah.
That's right. So you're not going to find that in your Quran. Sorry about that. But we do know that because man's had his finger in it, that the devil's had his finger in it. Because once man starts writing things and interfering, and considering Muhammad was illiterate, so he couldn't have wrote it in the first place. So at the very best, someone wrote down what he said.
Well, they do. That's what they say. That everything was recited and remembered, committed to memory, and then sometime later, they began committing them.
Should have been committed to a lunatic asylum because none of it is accurate. So, is it any wonder that if all of the religions of the world are totally corrupted by this demonic force posing as God, do you think it's remotely possible that the Quran is not the same category of corruption?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yet these people will kill for it. So there's a good idea. Oh yes, it's definitely the word of God. Let's go and kill everybody who don't believe it.
Well, yeah. Hello.
What
Pope Benedict had it right. He summed it up. He says, "What good has come from Islam except at a point of a sword?" Now, this is in the beginnings. I know now down through Iran and all the rest of it, they're preaching peace and blah, 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 yet they're still incarcerating people who believe a little bit differently to them. The point is that all religions are with God. Okay, prior to this, because the kingdom comes to the earth. God is on the earth, so the kingdom comes to the earth with him. He is the one who overturns by revealing the absolute truth, the provable absolute truth. And the only way that you can do that today is the way he does it. That is measuring his creation, because within the measure it is all about him. He's the writer of the script. He's the architect of this universe that we live in. His name is everywhere. It is all over it. It's all about him. So we have the imposters, the invaders, the guests, if you like. They're not even guests. They're hosts of vermin who have decided to keep the vineyard, which is the world, for themselves. Now this goes back to your Isaiah prophecies. So when the Lord and the Master, the owner of the vineyard, comes, this is after they've murdered the heir, which was Yahweh as Jesus then. Remember, it was the soul of Yahweh, God, Allah, in Jesus. So they murdered God then. All according to God's plan. And the only reason that he had them murder him was to release his blood. The soul at that time was contained within his blood. Once it was spilled from the cross, the soul escaped, if you like. It was released from the blood and it left the body. The body of flesh is dead. The blueprint for any body's flesh is the soul. Once the soul leaves, the body is dead. Not rocket science. And a 25-cent bullet will prove it to you. However, we're not asking anybody to do that. Just know that the point of the crucifixion was to demonstrate that you cannot kill God. He left his body, the soul, and he resurrected the flesh body. That is the Holy Ghost, which was the soul. It's holy because it was Jesus, who is God. Everybody has a ghost. You're just not holy. Hello? There are those on the earth who do know and recognize who he is. They then become holy and immortal in body and in flesh, because their soul then becomes worn like a white garment of pure fine linen on the outside of their flesh body. The argument, and I see this over and over and over, we'll touch a couple of things, but the argument is that the Muslims crack on about there being one God. Well, there is. Nobody understands the Trinity, no matter how many times God himself, Brian and Golightly Marshall, or I, have explained it to the world. I'll tell you once more. Listen very carefully. This is the Trinity. One soul. Existing. Existing before he comes to the earth in the body known as Jesus. He is Lord.
Why
capital
did it have
L.
to be a virgin?
Because
sin comes through man. Okay, having said that...
And the Father has no Father. The Father is the Creator. He is the Father. He has no Father.
Really?
Right. Now, I'm making this clear for the listeners, babe. I know, because I see it all the time. And the ones who are following us should be able to respond as I am telling you once more now. The Trinity is the one soul. The Muslims have it right in that respect. One soul, one God. Just their understanding of him is totally skewed. And so they become antichrist because of their misunderstanding. The Christians crack on about the Trinity. Okay? I'm explaining the Trinity. One soul, that is God. In the realm of no time before he incarnates as Jesus, he is Lord, capital L. He comes to the earth in Jesus, the soul of God, Yahweh, grows up to be only 33 years old. He forced his own crucifixion by goading the Jews, who were not Jews at all. He is Lord Jesus, known at that time, back today already in the body this time, same soul, Lord before he comes as Jesus. This time he's Jesus all grown up. He looks like the Father. He is a Father. He is the Christ today. He was not the Christ then. He is Christ today. The Father within him gets to grow up beyond the age of Jesus. He is the old man grown into the fullness of the Father. So you have the Trinity being the same soul, 3 moments in time. Lord, incarnation, Jesus, and back today, Christ. That is the Trinity. Same soul, one God. Do we understand? Now, I didn't get to finish yesterday what the painting behind me is, the inspiration for it. I painted it in 2005 while I was looking for the Christ, the body, the man of flesh on the earth, and I was compelled to paint designs. As it turns out, coincidentally, yesterday, when I had only given the name, I didn't get to explain it. And then I get a communication once more from Adam Yates, who'd been having a conversation with a Muslim, nice man, who was quoting chapter and verse, the Quran. Well, it's all very nice. It's like a conversation of a philosopher with himself as he's challenging who would deny the Lord, who would deny the Lord. Well, it's really pretty simple. They are denying the Lord because they do not understand that he was, as Muhammad made it very clear, Jesus was the soul of Allah. He went to the cross. If Jesus had not died on the cross, because in their understanding, why would God crucify his son? Well, first of all, it was God that got crucified, and it was to spill his blood so that he could be released to come back now. Reincarnate. Reincarnation is resurrection. It's not one day, one instant in time when all the bones, dry bones, gather together. It's a period of time. He is the first. That it was. He said, I am the resurrection and the life. The resurrected body of Jesus, the Holy Ghost being the soul of Jesus worn on the outside, and it was the soul of Yahweh the Father who was resident in that body, and is why the image of the Shroud of Turin is the old man. It captured the soul. Okay, moving right along. He's back today, reincarnated, which is resurrection. Today his name, the new name of the Revelation 3:12, is Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. It has an English Gematria of 312. His mother is the woman of the Revelation, the woman standing upon the moon and the sun with the crown of 12 stars. Within her she contained Israel, because Israel was Jesus and is today the Christ, because he is back. He is Israel. He is the New Jerusalem. I hope I'm making myself perfectly clear. Now, so that you can respond if you're going to waste your time trying to convince somebody that this is so, remember we are in the judgment. And when he said, if you deny the Son, the Father will deny you. Why is that? Why is that? All souls are gathered back for the sentencing that has already been proclaimed, because their judgment has occurred already before they were reborn to the earth. So they are now living out or awaiting for the execution of their sentence. It means that in their past life, they have already denied the Son, the historical Jesus who was God. I am the way, the truth, and the life. They've already denied the historical Jesus in their past life. We've had 2,000 years, all the preaching and teaching, and it has covered all the corners of the earth, etc., etc. So they're back here now, and they will not, no matter what information we show and demonstrate, the evidence, the mountains of evidence. You just don't front up like a few who have, oh, I'm Jesus because my mother told me. Hello? It's the evidence. The earth and the heavens reflect his glory, which is body of flesh. So they have already denied the Son. So they are incapable of recognizing the truth now. And you waste your breath trying to convince them. And the sayings of the Quran, some of them are very nice. They make you feel good. And there are little bits of parallel here and there. They got the reckoning of the sun and the moon right. But for the most part, their understanding has been stolen from them by the same evil force that is controlling the earth. Heaven's Gate behind me, what does it mean? You see in the center here, the gold cross. That is the center of all eternity. That is the gate. I called this Heaven's Gate. Now, these are doors. I liken them to a vessel of, they're black because they're carbon. Our bodies are made of carbon. It's the fourth element. It's the fourth element, YHWH, encoded on every cell within our body. The name of Yahweh, the name of God. But the fourth element, carbon, gives us this flesh body. Now, you'll see that it looks like these doors, these vessels, they are gilt-edged gold. They have in common the cross. It's gold. But it's a forward movement in time towards the cross. Because the gate to heaven, Heaven's Gate, which comes to the earth, is the cross. Nobody gets to be in heaven without the cross, bowing the knee to the cross. The historical Jesus, back today, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, as the Father. If you have denied the Father in the past, in your previous lives, there's nothing that's going to change anybody's mind today. And this is why it's like talking, you may as well talk to a brick wall. You will certainly get more response. So these four vessels I liken to people. This is a reflection. It's a reflection here. And it was only today, I didn't understand the four. Who is the four? And it was only yesterday, I think it was, or this morning I woke up. You've got the historical Jesus and Martha. And then back today, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, and me. Janelle is my name today, but I'm Martha. So the four in history, if you like, past and present, the reflection, the soul reflection, moving toward eternity. And what is in common is the cross. Nobody, not Jew, this is what now, John Hagee has announced to the world that Jesus was not the Messiah of the Jews. Well, he weren't.
No.
Not the counterfeits, no, they were the devil. Not the Moses laws practicing Jews at the time. Yahweh announced, he's been saying this for long, he wasn't the Messiah. That's why he said nothing to them. He came to his own, of the tribe of Judah, the Essenes. And they were to go and take the news that the crucifixion had been accomplished, raising them to life. All who believed and followed him, the way, the truth, and the life. The tribe of Judah, Essenes, they were to take the message back into the 10 nations of Europe and back to the Isles, the British Isles, from whence the Christ family came from. He didn't come for the rabble at the time. That's why he spoke in parables, so that we would understand him. Now, you've got today the likes of Yitzhak Kaduri, who died in 2006, 108 years old, being an expert in the Talmud, an expert in the Bible, an expert all around the place, and being revered by hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, as a prophet in Israel, etc., etc. He is Israel. It's not the lump of dirt. Now, Yitzhak Kaduri told them, because had they accepted him, okay, yes, I am the Messiah. He is the Messiah. He's the Saviour. He is the Messiah. But he wasn't theirs. He didn't come for them. They're ratchet, here I go, excuse me, children, ratchet rabble, the bottom of the rung, low-life, demonic sons of Cain. They crucified him. Kaduri says Yeshua is the Jewish Messiah? Well, yes, because he's the Savior for all those who come and bow and acknowledge, you did it for me. Because I tell you what, not a single one of us would be here had he not gone to the cross then. So evil, he would have pulled the plug then, but for one thing. That his seed was left behind within his wife Martha, and that he would have a way back here today. Give it one last shot. Is that right?
That's right.
Right. Give it another go. So, what have we got today? We've got the same evil angels. They're taking the vineyard for themselves. They are in all of the rulers of this earth. They are in preaching and teaching the Western world, a product of Judaism, which is the serpent cult, snake. It's a sex death cult whose backing is the Talmud. He condemned it as Jesus. It was called the Mishnah then. And so we have today pedophile movements in all the governments of the West, fronting as countries. That sums it up beautifully. Thank you, Greg Hallett. He applied it to New Zealand, but it applies to just about every other Western nation. Absolutely, for sure. The Jews have no chance of salvation. They could have had it then, but they denied it, they covered it up. The conversation that he did have after the resurrection when he appeared to Caiaphas. If you receive this. It was all based on if you receive this. Well, Caiaphas did. And then he resigned. He realized that there was no need for his position as a high priest, since Jesus made it very clear he was the final, the last sacrifice. He fulfilled the pathetic law of Moses, BS, not because it was so great or beautiful or it was a teaching, it was a learning curve. This is what the Christians preach, so deluded. This was the learning curve until grace replaces law. I've got news for you. Not grace, the way, the truth, and the life. Take up your cross. If you have not been crucified somewhere in your past lives, then you don't make it. What did Jesus do? It's all about truth first. He said, you cannot be my disciple unless you are seekers of the truth. Capital T. Not love, not peace, but truth. So we get today a washed out, airy-fairy, pansy Jesus. Oh, forgive them, Father, they don't know what they do. Absolutely BS. They knew exactly what they were doing all along. So all of those that you're trying to convert, don't bother. Yah doesn't want anybody. Those that are his, recognize him, and they don't need to be convinced of it. They have been prepared. They are back here. Like myself, driven to find him for 9 years. Why? Because I was Martha. I am Martha. I'm the same today as I was then. That's why the scriptures talk about he's the same today, yesterday, and forever. The soul doesn't change. He irritated them. They crucified him. Hello? Well, the same today. It's all about announcing that they have no hope. They have no salvation. Any chance he has given them is long gone. They have refused. Absolutely refused. Is there any hope in the next 5, 10 minutes, 10 weeks, months, 3, 4 years?
For the Jews?
For the Jews.
None.
None. Think about it. Your children, Christians in particular, preaching their gospel, preaching Paul. He was one of them, the lead assassin. He didn't have a conversion on the road to Damascus. He's an infiltrator. They're all liars. There is no truth in them. And so when you read the writings of Paul, anything that Jesus did teach is changed by this thing that's supposed to be... It's a devil. Jesus warned a devil would come after him. He wasn't even on the scene. And to be an apostle, you had to be with him. Nobody could appoint themselves an apostle after. You had to be one of the original 12. Today you can't be an apostle. Unless you're in this household, you cannot be a self-appointed apostle. None of you out there. And all the St. Paul's churches on the planet are going to be leveled. As you would expect, he's here to straighten everything out. He is the comforter. Proven over and over and over. He's the Father, he's the comforter, God Almighty in the flesh, to bring comfort to those who belong to him, made in his image. It's really pretty simple. We didn't meet a single Arab while we were in Egypt for 10 weeks. None made in his image. For all they crap on about Muhammad and could quote this, that, and all the other, and parts of it sound good. None made in his image. You cannot enter heaven but through the gate, which is the cross. All right, that's past 31 minutes in time. Shall we move right along?
I remember having this very similar conversation in Canada when I rang Stephen Hawkins, and he said, I said, what the fuck are you talking about? All right,
on to more important things.
I only ever made one mistake.
Aha.
That's when I thought I was wrong and I wasn't.
Right. You said you said two when you said I do.
No,
that was last week.
No, I knew when I was
wrong. Oh, you knew? Yeah, all right.
Okay, now this is the tip of New Zealand, and I just instinctively went there as I usually do in my inimitable fashion. I'll just show you where it is on a big map. So if you measure from this area down here, I think I can do it. Give you an idea at least. This is what the Harrison clock accomplished. Won't work. You go up 888 miles straight up, and you get whatever. I can't see where it is myself. I haven't got my glasses.
What's that on your arm?
Oh, what's up there?
You want mine as well?
We go back to here. Oops.
Hey babe, we've got 555 videos uploaded at
How many?
555
Have I?
video uploads at the channel 3168.
Well, if you want to talk about the 3
Or 555. 555 is the amount of times that Christ is found within 522 verses.
All right. So what we have there is a beach that I first looked up, and I'll zoom in and show you. Then I'll go over to the other computer and show what I've done with it. So this is beach here. These are roads here. It is accessible. And then there's a cliff down here. And I calculated this point here as being 88.8 metres above sea level. And then there's another point down here which we may be able to get to. The point being, this is the darkest area on the earth, avoiding all towns and cities and light, and it's underneath the darkest place in the southern hemisphere, in the sky. So it's an ideal place to set up a telescope and have a look at what is coming in.
Yes.
Right. So what I did, I go over to the other computer, and I just caught a few of these things which I was playing around with. What I do is I'll remember something, and I've got thousands of drawings, and I'll go in and have a look, and we'll see what we got. This is one of them. I thought it's interesting for people because we're looking at proof here. And anyone can do this if you've got Magellan software. You can't do it with Google Earth, and all Google Earth is good for is giving you a latitude and longitude. Then you transfer that over to a Magellan product, and then you've got it. Now, this product you're looking at the moment is the position of the moon and the sun at 2:22 a.m. On Greenwich Mean Time. It's 4:22 p.m. because we're 10 hours ahead in Sydney. So it's registered here as the January the 10th, 1944 at 4:22 p.m. So that is 2:22 a.m. on the 11th of January. So what you see then is a distance to my birthplace, which is 105 Rothschild Avenue. 105 is Eagle or Angel. And I thought I'd grab this and show you a little bit of what it's all about. Now, from the position of the moon, which is there, to my birthplace, which is there, it's 6918 and a little bit kilometres, right? To the South Pole from the Sun, it's 7777 kilometres. So the Sun position at that moment in time. 3875 miles to the South Pole is the word comforter. Now the 6918 is the word wash or kadosh, which is as a noun God by eminence. Okay?
How do you spell it? How was the spelling of it?
In Hebrew?
Yeah.
Qadowsh,
Okay.
pronounced Kodosh, or Qadosh, Kodosh, with a exclamation mark, if you like. As a noun, God. So we go to another one which I was playing around with. It's, here. This is January 11th, 1944, same day, and it shows you the distances of the combined. We measure from Jupiter because Jupiter is the Jesus planet. And when we add those all up, you'll notice that the Pluto, Neptune and Uranus from Jupiter is 77.7 astronomical units. So you see how the synchronicity is lining up here. I don't stuff around, right, when I do things. So when we've got the Sun distance, it's 5.34, Mercury is 5.04, Venus 4.89, Mars 4.46, Earth 4.51, and that totals to that point 2424 astronomical units. Hello, Jesus again. Then you add in Saturn, 7.44 gives you a total of 3168 Lord Jesus Christ. So 31.68 astronomical units. So we have then 3168 plus the 770.7, that's the outer planets, gives you 109.38. This was taken at 8.88 hours of the morning, right? On January 11th, 1944. So it's 8:52. Okay. Now, this is New Guinea. New Guinea gained its independence from Australia on September the 16th, 1975. I was 31.68 years of age. And of course that's very important because that's where we both go together up into New Guinea after the death threat from the Australian government. And I'm 31.68 years old when it gets independence on the 16th of September 1975. So it's interesting that we should look up the distances to the planets. So we go Jupiter once again. So we got Mercury 4.99, Sun 4.95, Venus 4.25, Earth 4.06, Mars 3.6 and Saturn 10.9 for a 32.75. Now 3275 is only found once in the Old Testament as a number. 3275 is Jacan. It's only found once and it's in 1 Chronicles 5:13. And that is the age Michelle was, who is Mary Magdalene, although she doesn't like the idea. The mother of Rhiannon, on the 20th of December, this is we're talking about the 1979, when she gave birth to Rhiannon in Geelong, Australia, sunrise to sunset was 888 minutes. And the difference in age between my youngest daughter and Rhiannon, my youngest stepdaughter, is 777 days, which is 2.127 years. And 2127 is only found once in the Old Testament. And the word is Zia. And it's only found in 1 Chronicles 5:13, and it happens to be side by side with 3275. Now, Rhiannon is 11.626 years younger than my eldest daughter. And as you know, I married when I was 1162.6 weeks old. But Michelle, Mary Magdalene, is the same number, younger than I in days, 1162.6. So she screams at the whole idea that she could be any part of this because she wants to be able to rip me off and take all my money, which she did. God bless her. She fulfilled the prophecy. Had she not been in that type of woman, I would not have moved on. I'd have been loyal to her. I'd have stayed with her.
Yes.
Right? Put up with the suffering of it. But had she not end up denying me, she actually said to me one day, I know you're Jesus, but there must be someone above you. Because she thought I was an arsehole, right? Why I was an arsehole? Well, I'm an arsehole. That's why I was. She's right. You are soul. All right, so that's the 16th of September 1975. That's the taken at 2:22 a.m. Sydney time. Gives you those numbers. Now, I was led to the southern end of the South Island of New Zealand. I looked at a beach. I just did this spontaneously, right? Which I always do.
Yes.
I don't have to second guess. When I go somewhere, that's it, right? I looked at a beach which could be reached by road, a magnificent area with no lights from any nearby towns. It is also renowned for being below the darkest area of space. The night sky is completely clear with no pollution or light from nearby towns. In miles and nautical miles, it means bend or bow the knee to God. This is in Greek or Hebrew. The 1120 nautical miles is the word gun o pet hiha, from a compound of 1119 and the alternative to 4098. To fall on the knee, bow the knee, kneel down. The 1290 miles is 1290 bedek in Hebrew from 1288, a knee. And the 1288 is bless God. So we've got the Greek 1120 in nautical miles, then in statute miles it is 1290, and it is from the number 1288, so you have the two meanings put together. A knee, meaning to kneel down and bless God, which is going back to the same distance as 1120 nautical miles in Greek, to bow the knee. And this is what we've all been talking, the whole world will bow the knee or they're ratchet. Right? Like, watch out. So that's what it looks like. So we've got a little bit extra here, which I always put a little bit in. 1120 nautical miles and 1290 miles, kneels, bless God, and in kilometres, end, to kill, slaughter and slay, a sacrifice. So as Jesus, I was the last sacrifice. Nearby to the east of the cliff point, 88.8 metres above sea level. Measuring from my rebirth location to this 88.8 point, the next step down from that is Antarctica. The distance is 2079.7 kilometres. So that is from 2078 at the extremity of life, the point of death. But it is closer to the 2078 mile because it's in between. It's 2079.7. So you've got to look up 2079 and the 2080, right? Or the 2778. Going either way, you've got to look at it from both sides. The farthest, final or place of time, end at last, latter end, lowest, uttermost. To the South Pole means to find fault and conceive a new foundation. The distance around the Earth is 27464 kilometres, and the 2746 is to boast in a good sense, whereof I may glory, glorifying, rejoicing, which is to God. So that's what it looks like. So to my rebirth home, 2078 kilometres. Greek 2078, point of death, or farthest final, the farthest, final or place or time at the end. So we've been talking about the end all the time. So we're talking about the end of the physical earth here. You can't get much lower down than New Zealand when it comes to being the 888 number, which it is. So it's the end of Judaism and world evil, is what it means.
Yes.
That's the end of them.
Yeah.
South Pole 2602 nautical miles, and that is Cat Ab Olay from 2598, a disposition, a founding, conception, or conceiving of a new foundation.
So there you go.
Now I've got lots more, so keep on tuning in for the next couple of years and we'll get through them. I've got 13,000 drawings similar to that. Right? My problem is at what point do I introduce them to the world, because it is really something you've got to be smart to be able to follow. You've got to have a mind for it. If you don't, hasta la vista, baby. Now, why am I doing this? Why am I such a cruel asshole? Well, this is for the children of the world, because you adults are so corrupt, you're so evil, you're so stupid. A little baby at 5 years of age couldn't care less about a Bible, Quran, or any other bullshit that they have. Why would you put that into the mind of a child? Remember, I was 44, 45 years old before I even looked at the Bible. Because I walked out of the church and there's bullshit. Right? Like, I couldn't go to the priest and say, look, I just been back in time talking to Mary. They laughed at you. So a friend of my cousin's, he actually went off his brain over it. Become a nervous wreck. It's a dentist. He's dead now. His friend became a man that wanted, a boy that wanted to become a priest, so he went into the seminary.
Yeah.
Full of homosexuals, child molesters.
Yes.
And he committed suicide.
He committed suicide. And that's what you told Benedict.
I did.
Yes.
That's what happened. And my cousin never got over it. He sort of never grew up. He never matured, if you like. He just got bigger and bigger, but he never actually matured. He got to the point where he was an accountant, and goes to show you he's mentally ill. And he couldn't even do that. And I didn't see him for many years. And when I come back over from Canada for a short visit, I went down to see him, and my niece and my mother was with me, my sister. We went and seen his mother. Strange old bird, but very strict Catholic. And Dennis wasn't there. And he was off at one of these group therapy meetings, and because his nervous wreck, he couldn't drive his car as well. So his girlfriend, or a lady, I shouldn't say girlfriend, she would pick him up, go to the meeting and carry him back. But before I met this lady, well, I shouldn't say, I'll get it the right way around. He showed up with her.
Yes.
And they're sitting at the table, we're sitting around the table, and she was sort of sitting there like Miss Prissy out of one of the Warner Brothers cartoons, you know. A very strange little girl, but she's only young.
Yes.
And Dennis says to her, would you like another cup of tea? Whatever her name was, Mary, let's say it's Mary. No, thank you, Dennis, she says. Would you like another biscuit? No, thank you, Dennis. Would you like to go to the toilet? Like subtle as a brick, right? And he didn't realise how stupid he was, man. No, thank you, Dennis, she's saying. That's the last thing she wanted to talk about. I've got to go now, Dennis. So he gets up and he walks her outside, she gets in the car, and she goes, drives off, see? So then my auntie says to all of us, she said, oh, poor girl, you know. She says, her particular problem is that when she's walking down the street and a man passes her, he thinks he's going to turn around and grab her by the neck and strangle her and kill her. That's her problem. That's what she can't overcome, fear of these. So I was deadly silence thinking about this poor girl, and Dennis is outside, and you hear him talking away and slamming the door. So just before he walks back in, I said, funny you should say that, Arnie. when she sit next to me, I could hardly keep my hands off the throat. Well, that went over like a lead balloon, right? Because my niece and mother and sister, they're just cracking up, crawling under the table, laughing, right? It's just like I could hardly keep my hands off the throat. They would understand it's not the men's fault. They all want to strangle. Yeah, so she never did forgive me. No. Oh dear, what a woman. Yeah, so that was a sad story to my poor old... when his mother died, she's getting buried up through St. Teresa's Church. Now, St. Teresa's Church is apparently where I was baptised. I don't know for sure. I think it was.
Right. What suburb?
Mascot.
No.
It was just across the road, really. It's only a stone's throw from Gardiner's Road, and then the other side of it. So I'm pretty sure I got baptised there, because the family used to go there for church. But it's on Coward Street. Hello. Just across the road is Lestrange Park. Talking about got a sense of humour, the angels name everything.
Well, what about Rothschild Avenue being cut off by Harcourt, but at the other end you've got Chester, as in the
Chester at the now.
Treasure.
You go to the end of Rothschild Avenue, and it's Chester is at the top of it. Now, right beside that is the big money game, right? That's where all the taxes and registration of vehicles, and birth certificate, everything is paid there.
Marriages,
big bucks, right? At the end of Rothschild Avenue. But the other end is the checkmate. It's called Harcourt Parade. So when we get together, you track me down finally.
Took me 9 years hunting.
We end up in Harcourt, a small town city in Victoria, which is where, in my inimitable fashion, I look up Eagle Road on my GPS, this Magellan one, to find out if there is anything down there named Eagle, because the number's 105 Rothschild Avenue, 105 is Eagle. Okay, so I look it up, and sure enough, there's a little road down there, it's quite short, and measuring from the southern end of it to
this is
Rothschild
Eagles
Avenue.
Road, Harcourt. Eagles Road, Harcourt.
Yeah,
Victoria.
Measuring from there to the southern end of it to 105 Rothschild Avenue, and then back down to the northern end of it is a distance of 888 miles.
And there's your checkmate.
Checkmate. So, no matter where you go, wherever you draw my attention to something, I'll point the miracles out, because if you are communicating with me, if that is what you are at this point in time, no matter what you tell me, I'll tell you something about it that has already been laid out as a miraculous, because I do it all the time.
Remember, because this number, the 4414, that came up just days ago in your measuring.
That's right. And
at Harcourt, we left the farm to go and have a dinner at the local pub, Castleman pub, $10 meal. And we come back and there is a tree fallen across.
This is one of the Australian trees, a hardwood tree. It's called an ironbark. For a very good reason.
Yes.
You take an axe and try and chop it.
Yeah.
Nothing happens, just bounces off.
So the tree itself wasn't fallen, but a branch had been, looked like there was a weight on it.
Well, it'd be about as thick as your body, I suppose, where it broke off.
Right.
And it fell to the ground. This is heavy. We're talking about a heavy piece of tree.
We tried to move it.
We couldn't move it to start with.
We had to get the chain.
Went and got a long cable, it was, and then from another farm, and then hooked onto it and pulled it off the road with a truck.
Yeah. Now the point is, how many people go out to dinner, come back, there's no wind, there's nothing. It was a lovely...
It was in the conclave, it was a valley.
It was a lovely night. It was approaching dusk, wasn't it? Just getting dark. And there's this huge branch smack bang across the private road leading up to the farm. So we go, angels at play. So what did it all mean?
So we do the measurement. We got 414 to an eclipse line. And that number is in Isaiah, which is ash.
Yes, it's Isaiah 44:14. So that's what, it's my number. Because he kept saying, I had to have had you hidden somewhere. So here we are at Harcourt, come back, and he finds where he hid me. It's in Isaiah 44:14. So anytime you see that number, it's my number. But the ash, and then that leads to the hiding, the removal from the script by men of the Asherah, who is known to be the consort, the wife of Yahweh. It's childlike. Children say, well, I remember some small child years ago writing...
You don't want to argue with it, right?
Right. Some small child writes in and says, God needs a wife. Well, they hit it on the head. Just know that he had a wife all along. And this is why, again, it's all part of the rejection. The builders being Freemasons, a front for Jewry, Judaism all along. Everything else is just a front. We all know this now, and we're running out of time. It's about time to, time of this show, it's 12:56, 4 minutes to go. Have you anything else to say?
Lots.
Okay, well, continue.
No, I'll do it tomorrow.
All right. So we decided some years ago that hell for the rejectors would be 24/7, my voice, recording, just playing over and over, no escape. Lights on, no escape from my voice. Yeah, all right. All right, now Adam Yates, roller skeezer. Oh, what's he got? What was that? Adam, you posted a link. Adam Yates came in some 17 minutes ago and he said, ahoy, ahoy matey back, and he's been listening along. Andrew must be back at work. And Adam, what time is it there? You're up late. You haven't gone to bed yet. It's 5 in the morning, isn't it?
Oh, dear.
Something like that. But anyway, go to sleep. Anyway, we're saying goodbye. We laugh out loud. All right. We're going to go, Adam. Now, what is strange, doing the show live, this has become our routine. When we were asked months and months ago, can we have warning of going live? It was like, hello, no. It was our last resort then because we were recording everything and then uploading it from there. Now the routine is we're going live, and if we do end up recording something again, it'll be because we have to be away from the house or something like that. It's 4 a.m. where Adam is. Time for sleep, son. Oh, he says not needing much of that lately, not needing much of sleep. All right, okay. So anyway, the routine has become to do the show live. Now, I'm going to be away again from the 20th of April for a week. I'm going down to spend my week with Lincoln and my daughter Ali and family. So Ya's going to be here with Joel. He'll just have to cope on his own as he has done before. He does it so well. Anyway, I've totally forgotten what I was on about. But anyway, the show going live. No, yesterday, what was surprising, because you're live, you don't really, and you can't see what, you can't really see what's going on. Yesterday when I edited, there had been 25 plays already, so that meant 25 people were listening, or they hit the play button and, who knows whether they hung around to listen, but there were 25 plays already. So it's kind of weird. Knowing that you're live and yet not really thinking that there's people out there listening to you, such is the rejection. And that's why it's nice when somebody like Adam comes along, or Andrew and Jonas when he's around, to say hello, like you're not talking to a brick wall. Anyway, that's it. 59 minutes and 54 seconds, 6 to go. So by the time I press the button, oh no, we've got to have the choir go out with the choir. Here it goes. Later Gators.
You do that so well.
The Go Lightly Martial Out on freedomtalkradio.net.
I just like the sound of the... Joel does that so well. He has a real radio voice. Adam, thank you again. And you really should go and get some sleep, dear. Okay, this is Mother speaking. Okay, alligators.